Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it's time for some Path of Exile discussion. With every Atlas shake-up, some items become easier to obtain and some items become harder. And in this video, I want to go through an item that's becoming considerably easier to obtain and that can be used as the foundation for making a very solid starter physical damage weapon. Let's quickly talk about incursion items. Incursion items are rare items that drop with one mod that is special and often can be better than what would normally be able to roll on the item. These aren't protected from crafting in any way, so if you were to use a Chaos Orb on the item, the Incursion mod would be lost and it would just become a normal item again. However, Artifacts of the Vaal allows you to get a lot of rare Incursion items. Artifacts of the Vaal gives a 60% chance for Architects, which are found in every room of every Alva mission that you run, to drop a rare Incursion item. And that is scaled up to 100% once you take the nodes that lead up to it. This means that every time you run an Alva mission, you are going to get 3 rare Incursion items. Just by chance, some of those are going to be weapons, and we're going to focus on the weapons today because there's a lot you can do with them. So when you get a weapon from an Incursion, there is a reasonably good chance that it will have the special prefix Tacatis. The Tacati's prefix is very similar to tier 2 physical damage percent on a weapon. So it grants 155 to 169% increased physical damage, which is just outstanding, and also has gain 3 to 5% of physical damage as added chaos damage. Now we're going to treat that last point of 3 to 5% of physical added as extra chaos as just a free little bonus that we don't really care about. We're only going to evaluate this as though the only stat it had on it was 155 to 169% increased physical damage. We are going to recognize that for this weapon to become good, it needs to have 2 other mods on it. It needs to have flat physical damage at an acceptable tier, such as this mod here, tier 4, which is equivalent to what you can benchcraft, 13 to 17 minimum, 26 to 30 maximum flat physical damage, and then it also needs to have some attack speed roll. So what you're going to do is you're going to look through all of the incursion items that drop, and you're going to look for the ones that are on at least a serviceable base. You're not going to get the best bases in the game. You're not likely to get an Imperial Claw or a Gemini Claw with this, but you will get things like a Terror Claw. You will get things like a Vaal Claw. You will get things like a Great White Claw that are just a couple of percent behind. And once you've got one of those that has one of these mods, it needs to have at least tier 4 physical damage to attacks or at least tier 6 attack speed, then all you need to do is simply benchcraft the other one. If you don't have room, if you are missing the suffix space, then you will want to use a beastcraft that removes a random suffix and adds a random prefix to the item. And then at that point, benchcraft on the attack speed in that new slot that's created. If you are missing a prefix, at this point, you need to decide, is it worth just using the weapon as it is, which it might be, or is it worth taking a little bit of an RNG, either a Nullment Orb or a beastcraft to remove a prefix and add a suffix. Ultimately, you will sometimes ruin the item by doing the annul or the beastcraft, but sometimes that's just going to be worth it because you will get a lot of these. I've done a little bit of testing and it seems like about 15 to 16% of incursion weapons that drop will already have one of these at a genuinely good tier, and another 20% will have them at a sort of reasonable tier. And so that'll be enough for you to be able to get started and build yourself a weapon that's in the, if not quite in the 330 DPS range like this Imperial Claw here would be, at the very least more than 300. If you're wanting to make to use this on a two-handed weapon, there's nothing stopping you. And here is a Despot Axe with 630 DPS that was also created via this exact same method. This has fairly lucky rolls on the prefix craft, on the bench craft. So why don't we just try hitting this with a Divine Orb and see, just a few Divine Orbs to see whether the 630 was particularly lucky. It looks like it was a little bit lucky, so I'd say it's a 610, 620. That sort of range is where it seems to typically hit. And that is something that you can also use to make a starter weapon. Ultimately, I think running a heist will probably be the best source of starter weapons, but your second best is going to likely be to run these Artifacts of the Vaal nodes and use your Alva missions and get yourself started that way. If you got any comments or questions, definitely fire away below. Otherwise, may your Vaal Orbs have interesting results, and I will see you around.